I enjoyed the reading material immensely.
So what's the verdict?
I am an autumn.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
Good morning guys, and welcome back to another bookish video. The month is October, it's Halloween, cozy autumnal vibe. Why not do a reading vlog as I make my way through my October TV? I get scared very easily, so none of these books are going to be anything like a thriller or anything spooky. My vibes is more fantasy, kind of gothic fantasy, so I like the eerie vibes, I like the atmosphere, but I don't want anything too scary. My first book for October is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. So this is actually book 2 in a duology. So book 1 was One Dark Window. I actually did start this book in September, so I've only got about 100 pages left of this, but in case you haven't heard of this series, we are following the character Elspeth. So she lives in a town which is haunted by a mist, so very kind of perfect like Halloween eerie vibes. And the magic system in this series is a magical card. Each magical card has some sort of power attached to it, and at the beginning of book 1 we find out that at a young age Elspeth actually touched one of the guards and accidentally absorbed its power. She actually has a monster in her head that speaks to her, gives her power. Her mission in this story is to A, save the town and lift the mist, but also get the monster out of her head. But anyway, enough yapping, more reading. I'm going to walk to, I think, Holland Park today, Kyoto Gardens. I feel like it's going to look nice and beautiful with all the autumnal colours we have in London right now. I'm going to get myself a Halloween cookie from Lidl, and we are going to sit down and enjoy the rest of Two Twisted Crowns. I have a feeling I'm going to finish it at the park today because, like I said, I don't have much left. And also, side note, I love that it low-key matches my nails at the moment. But anyway, let's go to the park. Chosen a better location to finish reading this. It felt like Elspeth on the cover, making my way through Holland Park. I did the first book in this duology 4 stars. It wasn't a 5-star read just because I wanted a little bit more from the main characters. They're definitely likable, but I needed it a little bit more depth. Whereas this, I feel like this delivered. We get a lot more POVs, and it's kind of interesting because sometimes I don't like when they bring in new character POVs. I feel like when you're so invested with the original characters, you just want to hear their thoughts and you just want to know what's going on, like on their side of the story. But interestingly, the new POVs we get in this book, yeah, I just liked their characters even more. Anyway, I need to stop yapping because I need to be at work soon. So I will see you guys tomorrow when we start the second book for my October TBR. Good morning guys, so it is a couple days later and we're about to start book 2 for this video, and this is actually for my book club which meets on October 12th, so I need to be quick. It's a fantasy book club, and it's obviously a fantasy book, and this month we are reading The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. This is a slow burn enemies to lovers romantasy featuring a scholarly healer and a gentleman assassin, set in an exquisite fantasy world, perfect for fans of The Love Hypothesis and Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I've not read either of those books, but hopefully I enjoy this one. And I'm actually kind of going in blind with this book because I have not seen any of the content creators that I follow online talk about it. So yeah, if you have this on your TBR, go grab it now and let's get started. Reading update. I'm about 5 chapters in, and where do I begin? If you like your MMCs to have the whole Bat Boy, Shadow Daddy vibes, you're not going to get that in this book. This book is dual POV, and we actually start with the male main character. So his name is Osric, and we learn that he is a hitman, assassin, and he has damaged his magic system beyond repair. His body and his power are slowly deteriorating, and every doctor that he's spoken to has said that there's no cure. He decides to seek out our FMC because she is a healer, scientist, and just considered the best in her field. And as you can probably assume from his career choice, this guy is morally grey. At the beginning, he's talking about offering her money but stealing it back once she helps him, or even kidnapping her. Well, he goes to her FMC, and naturally her initial response is, you're a hitman, you kill people, I'm not going to help you. But her boss overhears and is like, look, we need this money. They actually have their own health epidemic, which is affecting children, so they desperately need the money that he's offering. So her boss just says, look, you're going to have to do it, but you need to keep it on the down low because we can't let all the other healers know that we are helping out an assassin. So basically, that's where the story begins. I feel like the banter in this book is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes I am totally laughing out loud. Actually, there was one quote which I sent to my friend. I will read it. So in this bit, they're talking about old magic, and then Ariane, our FMC, says, "You've heard of the Monophore Stone, of course." "No," said Osric. She blinked at him. "I suppose I oughtn't be shocked. It was only the greatest archaeological discovery of the century. But it's got nothing to do with murders or money, and therefore wouldn't be of interest to you." "Thank you," said Osric. "You're growing to understand me." So I have found myself laughing out loud a couple times because obviously they just have such complete opposite values that whenever the other one insults the other person, they take it as a compliment, which is quite funny. But annoyingly, one thing which I'm really not liking with this book is while their bickering back and forth banter is quite funny, there's a lot of, I don't know how to put it, like juvenile humour and innuendos and just the kind of language that you would honestly expect from like a high schooler or a middle schooler. It's just a little bit cringe to read, and honestly I think I would enjoy the book a lot more if that wasn't in it. It's not happening that often, but enough times that I've kind of cringed a little bit and had to put the book down for a couple seconds. So that is one thing I'm not enjoying about the book. But yeah, so far, like I said, I'm only about 5 chapters in, so not too much has happened yet, but I'm going to keep reading and I will update you guys later. Hello again. So today is October 13th. I finished the book and went to book club yesterday, and I thought first I would share my overall thoughts on the book and then also talk about what people said in book club because there was a few surprises. But overall, I liked the book. Didn't love it. I think for me it was a 3-star read. Where the story kind of fell flat a little bit for me, there just wasn't enough fantasy. There just wasn't enough of a strong there were some things later on towards the end that we learned which were kind of interesting. They're going to be talked about in the second book. So honestly, like, this book just felt a little bit slow for me, and I also just found it a little bit weird when I first started reading it that there was a whole glossary. So you go into the book seeing the map, the glossary, kind of expecting a lot of world building, and it just kind of fell short. Yeah, so overall for me it was a 3-star read. But now let's talk about book club because this is where things got a little bit interesting. So first of all, I think 2 people DNF'd it quite early on in the book. But one thing I didn't know, and why did no one tell me? Maybe if you've already read the book, you've been kind of shouting it at the screen towards me, but I did not know that this is actually based off of a Hermione and Draco fanfiction. So originally the author just wrote a fanfic. She got picked up for traditional publishing, so obviously she had to make a few alterations to the story because you need to have original characters, right? So you can kind of draw a little bit of inspiration, but to avoid copyright, she obviously had to retell the story. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense now, especially Osric, the main character. I just remember reading the book thinking, why has she written this guy so ridiculously pompous? And it just makes sense now because that is literally Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter, right? Like completely up himself, morally grey. It does make sense. I will say, totally not getting any Hermione vibes from FMC. And one thing we found hilarious at book club was that everyone that had read the original fanfic did not like this book. And then everyone that hadn't read the fanfic, myself included, didn't mind it. So it was actually pretty funny how all the girls like me, we just said, yeah, you know, good vibes, had a few laughs. The book was okay, not super strong, but we might read the second book. And then everyone who read and loved the fanfic just were not a fan of this book. That was book 2 for this reading vlog. Now, the next book club is November 2nd, and it is Catabasis, and that is what I should be reading next in this video. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm just not in the mood for a dark academia, like a fantasy academia book. Instead, I'm gonna read a book that has been on my TBR for a very long time, and that is Spark of the Everflame by Penn. And the reason I'm picking this up now is because I've actually had the second book sitting on my shelf for so long. So I went to Saucy Books, which is a romance bookshop here in London, I want to say July, I think it was, and they had signed copies of the book because Penn had been in, and unfortunately they were sold out of book 1, but I just went ahead and grabbed book 2. So this has been sitting on my shelf for ages, and I thought the first book is on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to read that today. But first I'm going to make myself some lunch, and I am in the mood for pancakes, and I have some pumpkin puree that I bought from Waitrose, so I think I'm gonna make pumpkin spice pancakes. I'll show you guys the recipe. And did I binge read Sparkle the Everflame in 2 days and not film any reading updates? Yes. Yes, I did. Loved the book. And then straight after, my brother was visiting from Australia. So, of course, just didn't have any time to film. But yeah, has been over a week now. And I did end up finishing that book. Loved it. I'm very excited to pick up book 2, which I do have the physical copy of. In case you haven't heard of this series, by the way, we are following the main character, Diane, and she lives in a world where there is humans and fae. She's human, and the fae are the elite society. So they have the power, they live very comfortably, and unfortunately, humans are pretty much living in slums and having to be overworked. So our main character, Diane, is a healer. But we find out at the beginning of the book that her mum has gone missing, and her mum was also a healer. So now she is actually finding herself having to travel into the Fae realm quite a bit to do some healing for them. So that is where she meets our MMC, who actually is a Fae. We do find out at the beginning of the book that Fae are also killing humans. So there's just a lot of tension between the two. And we do also find out throughout the book that there is a little bit of an uprising happening with the humans. So revolution is in the air. I mean, obviously, with any fantasy book, you can kind of expect at some point there is going to be some sort of war. And one thing I really loved about the book, I mean, first of all, the writing is really nice. Sorry, my camera was just flashing. But as I was saying, I really enjoyed the writing, and I love that we are introduced to a magical creature. So it's a horse / dragon, which I can't really picture in my head. And I really want to look up fan art, but I'm so scared I'll accidentally see a spoiler. We kind of see or sense that there's some sort of connection between our main character and this creature. So I have a feeling maybe in book 2 or book 3, there's going to be a little bit more to this. So I am loving the series, excited to start book 2. I don't know if I'm going to get straight into this just because Halloween is 1 week away. And actually last night, my friends and I had a little bit of a Halloween movie night. We put on a kind of witchy movie, which was Practical Magic. Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock, 90s chick flick, loved it, and it's just kind of put me in the witchy mood. So I think I'm going to read on my Charmed books. I'll just show you guys. I've not read a Charmed book in, I want to say 15 years. So I'm going to read this one. This is Spirit of the Wolf. So this is one of the ones where Prue has already died and Paige is part of the Power of 3. So this will be my witchy read for Halloween. And then also another one I want to read before autumn kind of wraps up in London is, okay, the name has completely escaped me, but I've got it on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited. I'm just going to put a picture here of the book, but I'm sure you've seen it. It's one that everyone is talking about on BookTok, YouTube, whatever. It's basically a kind of meant to be a 90s style rom-com contemporary romance, which is 100% not my genre. I very rarely read romance books unless it's more like the classics of Jane Austen and stuff, but I don't know, the whole 90s rom-com vibe has definitely drawn me in. And then I think the author kind of compared it to Gilmore Girls vibes. So I think I'm going to give it a go. So that is all the reading updates I have for you guys. And the rest of this video is going to be a little bit more Halloween focused. So actually I've seen online that all the beautiful Halloween decorations are up in Kensington and Notting Hill at the moment. So I think tomorrow morning I'm going to go for a long walk. It's meant to be sunny, and I will try and get some nice footage for you guys, because if you have not seen Halloween decorations in London, you are in for a treat. People go all out. Well, at least the rich people go all out. We can just kind of manifest that kind of wealth. May that wealth attack me one day. So I'm going to show you guys clips of that. And then I also need to fill in my reading journal, because I just don't think I'm going to finish any more books by the end of October. I think everything I start now will probably carry me through to November, although maybe Charmed. But anyway, I just want to get my reading journal done. So I think that is me done chatting for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and enjoy the rest of the footage. Bye.